Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the Mac V1, and before I get rolling into it, I just want to call your attention to how good that paint job looks. It's just so shiny. Yeah, a little pat on my back there for that one. It really did come out great. I really was pleased with what happened there. So before I started on the interior, one of the things I needed to do was to make sure that the window openings were cut correctly. Kind of fine-tune them a little bit. I believe I'd mentioned in a couple of the past videos then when I was going to mount the windows into the sides here, since I'm basically just going into 2-inch foam here, there needed to be some sort of a backing or like a window sill or a rough cut opening for the windows to bite onto, because they're basically fit by compression of the outer window up against the outside of the camper, and then that inner ring clamps it in between the openings there. So I wound up using 1x3s and had them glued into the actual foam. I just routed it out the proper depth, put down the 1x3s, and at that point routed out the inner part of it there, which you can kind of see it's a little bit lower on the inside edge there. You'll see by the arrow pointing to it. And part of the reason behind that is the size between the window and the ring is 1 3/8 inches. So yeah, 2 inches plus these windows will not compress down. I tried to find an extension ring for them and wasn't able to come up with anything, so had to do a little bit of modification in order to make it work, but it seems to work just fine. The cloth that I'm using on the inside for the wall coverings and for the headliner is a 100% polyester micro suede product that I got off of Amazon. One of the reasons I went with the polyester is that it won't hold, or it won't develop mold inside of it in the event that you get moisture on the inside of the camper, which inadvertently it's gonna happen. So using the polyester, that was just to try to kill that from happening, and I went with a charcoal gray, which kind of gives a little bit of a silver shimmer of it because of the micro suede, and it looks good. And if it's brushed, any which way, you can kind of change the design on the wall, so to speak. So what I'm doing is just go ahead and fitting it up here, cutting it to proper size, and then I'll start attaching it to the wall. Now you'll note on the right side there, I'm not going all the way up to the corner. This is by design, reason being there will be 5mm plywood that'll be attached to the wall back there as part of the kitchenette. To attach the fabric to the wall, I used Gorilla Glue adhesive, and basically just put it on there with the caulking gun, and then use the spatula in order to spread it out evenly over the entire surface. Went down onto the wood as well and the inner edges of it, so that the cloth would just go on the inside of the edge, so when the compression ring is put on it, it'll be covered up. I did experiment with several other adhesives as far as adhering this to the foam. The spray adhesives have a solvent base on it and will actually eat the foam. It'll melt the foam down. I tried white glue, which didn't hold very well. I tried fabric glue, which still didn't hold very well, and it held fine to the actual material, but it would not hold it onto the foam itself. The Gorilla Glue construction adhesive, though, it's actually a fairly tight bond. Now, if you're trying to rip it off the wall, yeah, it's going to come, but that same can be said if you're trying to pull a headliner out of a car. If you pull hard enough, it's going to come off. Now, before the comments start flying, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, I am not a professional upholsterer. I am literally doing this by the seat of my pants, and just trying to figure out what's going to work and how well it's going to work. I did try to do this in small chunks, so as to not get ahead of myself with too much glue, or having the glue or the adhesive getting dried out before I was able to get the cloth on there. So just starting from the top and working my way down, I used a spatula or a spreader, whatever you want to term it, to basically push the creases out and rub the fabric down onto the glue, and just trying to take care not to get too many little sags in there, or the occasional you can see me working one out of trying to get creases out of it. So it was not particularly easy, and the fact that I was trying to do it all in one piece probably was not the smartest idea. It did not turn out as beautiful as I would like for it to. As a matter of fact, in certain parts it actually looks kind of crappy, not because of the adhesion, but because I'm trying to use one large piece, and I've got all these little indentations of where the wood is and where it curves into the windowsill. It's not my proudest work, but it worked well for what I was trying to do. And maybe in the future, I could do this a little bit differently to where I have more professional looking results. But, when you're DIYing it and you don't know how to do upholstery and you're just kind of winging it, I don't know, it doesn't look that bad. Now, just the way that time worked out, glue wound up drying for, I believe, 2 or 3 days before I decided to go back and go ahead and cut them out, the window openings, so I could put the windows back in at this point. And just did the same process that I had on the other side. Just put the window in there, clamped it, made any adjustments I needed to do, any kind of shimming, and then went ahead and started screwing them down and compressing the windows in.